Good morning, all of you. On behalf of the Committee on Public and Government Financial Management of ICAI, I welcome you all to the series of virtual conclave on recent accounting reforms in the government that is being organized by the committee under the theme Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Today's topic of webinar is Accounting and Auditing in PRIs. Today we have with us Sri Subodh Gujjar sir. He has experience in implementation of ID initiative in Panchayati Raj institution, and more than 63% of the India population reside in rural areas. The PRIs are the most important link in the governance trend to deliver benefits at the grassroots level. This is reflected in the progressively increasing devolution of funds to these bodies. As per 15 Finance Commission, grants of rupees 2,36,805 has been earmarked for the panchayat. 15 Finance Commission also mandated the accounts of the panchayat should be prepared on time, audited, and made available in public domain in order to avail the grants. To transform the functioning of PRI in India and to strengthen accounting and auditing, various efforts are being made by the government. MOPR has launched the e-Gram Search and Audit Online, and Office of CNAG issued guidelines of financial audit of Panchayati Raj institution in November 2021. Today's virtual conclave will throw light on how accounting and auditing is being done in PRI and what initiative has been taken by MOPR. I hope that viewers will be benefited by the deliberation of this webinar. Now I welcome Subodh Gujjar sir. He has experience of 13 years in consulting, primarily in the government and public sector. He is a senior member in the e-governance National Project Monitoring Unit in MOPR since 2014. He has been constantly involved in enhancing accounting module in e-Gram Solar. He has conceptualized and been involved in the integration of accounting module with PFMS since 2018 to develop one of its kind online payment interface for the panchayat. He is also involved in the national level implementation and rollout of Audit Online. I welcome you, sir. Now, platform is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the warm welcome. Very good morning to all the participants connected. So as mentioned, the topic today is on PRI accounting and auditing. So in my presentation, I'll be taking you through what are the various initiatives the Ministry of Panchayati Raj has done, what are the current status of adoption across the panchayats. Because panchayats are normally touted as the third tier of government, it becomes essential for panchayat to function with all the possible paraphernalia given to them, to be in devolution of funds, powers, and we'll also see how they have progressed and what level, what degree of adoption has happened. So I'll just be sharing my slides. You let me know if you can see them.
Yes, sir. That will be very useful.
Okay, fine. Without any further ado then. So if you look at the footprint of panchayats in our country, right? So there are around 262,690 rural local bodies. So these constitutes your 3-tier panchayats, your gram panchayats, block panchayat, district panchayats, and 97 of these are your gram panchayats, which is to the tune of 255,000. So you can see the quantum of units. Actually, the local bodies, they are huge and across the country, and there are around 30.45 lakh elected members, so be it your pradhans, like ward members, and of which 46% are your women representatives. So we often call panchayats as the third tier government. So in a sense, they are responsible for also delivery of services, ensuring the citizens are provided with all basic services as well. And they also need to maintain a continuous functioning of the panchayat office. So be it maintaining your accounts, budgeting, preparing plans. And we also have certain traditional local bodies, which are a tune of 16,145. These are basically your non-Part 9. There are 6 scheduled areas, and you'll find them mainly in the states of Meghalaya, Nagaland, Mizoram, and in some parts of Assam, Manipur, Tripura, parts of West Bengal and district Darjeeling as well. So if you look at the map on the right-hand side, you'll see the average population for local bodies. So the hilly states or northeastern states, you'll find their populations are less because panchayat size are smaller. But in states like, Kerala, Assam, Bihar, West Bengal, they are bigger panchayats. So there's a huge disparity between the population in panchayat. So if you look at an average population comes to around 3,284. So with panchayats as a third tier of government, and moreover, the 73rd Amendment of the Constitution also recognized panchayat as a constitutional body, and as such, panchayats are also responsible for delivery of certain functions and services also to the citizens. One important aspect of the panchayats, be it any tier, specifically gram panchayat, is to create a panchayat development plan with all the available resources. So basically, the concept of one panchayat, one holistic plan, which will also include your village action plans. Now, panchayats are made up of villages, maybe more than 1 2 villages. So all the village action plans, which are probably implemented through different line departments, they also become an integrated part of your panchayat development plan. It is also necessary for them to also provide capacity building and training of your elected members and your functionaries, uh, make them understand the various areas, focus areas of how things need to be done, how things need to be carried out. This includes your normal functioning of panchayat office as well. It also includes providing your elected members and pradhans with understanding of how certain development could be done. Maybe someone wants their GP to be water sufficient panchayat. Someone wants a healthy panchayat. So how do provide the training, the necessary training to them? Kind of have exposure visits. You've got training institutes. You've got a NIRD at this national level, and every state has their own SIRDs as well. And also becomes necessary to teach or train the panchayats to understand which are the areas which need focus, be it your situational assessment, their planning, how one goes about planning the activities, implementing and monitoring of activities. And most importantly, in a panchayat functioning is your stakeholder involvement, mainly your citizens and different line departments, everyone. So the whole idea of a panchayati raj system is to include each and every person in a decision making. So if I say panchayat being a third tier of a government wants to make a decision, they can only make the decision through the approval of gram sabha. Gram Sabha is a platform where all your panchayat citizens come together, sit and discuss, and then concur whether a particular development is needed or not. So more importantly, if you analyze it, it's basically the people's requirement which is being taken up, rather than the panchayat imposing as to this is what we want to do. So that is a whole USP of a panchayati raj system is inclusion of all the stakeholders in decision making process. And like I mentioned, gram panchayats, they are the seats of village level governance. So any rural development which that needs to be successfully implemented, the panchayats are the driving force of this. So in order for the panchayats to successfully implement, you need to provide them with devolution of your funds, functionaries, functions, and they need to be given uh, the power to carry out development plans as per their requirements, which they feel is best for their development. So when you talk about financial devolution, like in the introduction, ma'am had mentioned, the 15 Finance Commission has given a huge amount of corpus to the local bodies. That's around 2.36 lakh crores over the 5 year period. So this is the 15 Finance Commission, under 15 Finance Commission. This is the first time where the funds are provided to your district panchayats, to the block panchayats and the gram panchayats, and also to the traditional local bodies in the sixth scheduled areas. In the year 2021 as well, 15 Finance Commission had also provided an interim fund allocation of 60,750 crores. So if I add these two up, they're around, it's huge. The corpus is huge actually, around 2.9 lakhs, so around 3 lakh crores from 2020 to 25-26. Now, in the Finance Commission allocation, this grant is split into two components: tide grant, which makes up the 60%, which is earmarked for the national priority areas, that is your drinking water supply, rainwater harvesting, sanitation maintenance activities. And further, the 60% is again divided 30% for drinking water, 30% for sanitation. So this becomes, in a way, a mandatory thing to do using tide grants, because as the name suggests, they are only fixed for drinking water and sanitation. On the other hand, 40% are for untied grants, meaning the panchayat has they have the liberty of selecting any basic services. So there are around 29 basic services, which is enshrined in the 11th schedule of the Constitution. So that comes to around 9.94 lakh crore. And if you see on an average, over the years, entire period of finance commission, the total hovers around 47,000 crore annually. So of this, funds can be used for development purposes, for be it any sector, be it for tide grants are your drinking water and sanitation sector, and tide could be your health, it could be your education, it could be rural development. In addition to this, there's also one more component of health grants, which is provided by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So for the RLB, that is around 43,000 crores, and those are for certain activities, setting up of health centers and other wellness centers at block level and panchayat level. So that is also provided to the gram panchayats. So with such huge amount of funds, corpus given to the gram panchayat, it is quite natural. Then one needs to also monitor these funds and where it's being spent, whether it is being spent for the activities which it has been earmarked for. So going back in the past, actually in the year 2004, during one of the roundtable conferences of all the ministers in charge of Panchayati Raj, so the seventh roundtable, which was also the last roundtable among the series, the two important resolutions were passed. One, that IT needs to be, used. That is information technology and communication is actually a vital input for capacity building of panchayats. So they're able to provide, and perform their functions in a better way. So the thought process then was that IT needs to be positioned as a decision-making support system. It would also, bring about tools for transparency, disclosure of information to citizens, better delivery of services to citizens, and means for improving internal management. So there was this emphasis on you using information technology for at the panchayat level, so they're able to perform better. So keeping these objectives in mind, so Ministry of Panchayati Raj and then rolled out the e-Panchayat Mission Mode project, like it mentioned with the objectives before, to provide a platform to the panchayat so they can also function like any other normal office or any other normal government office functions using the digital technology. So under e-Panchayat Mission Mode project, there was a suite of core common applications which were developed, which cater to the various aspects of panchayat functioning. So panchayats prepare plan. You had an application called Plan Plus. Then you monitor those plans, you see the progress. You had an application called ActionSoft. Then you need to account for all the receipts, expenditure, basically all the transactions occurring at the panchayat level. You had PRIs, which I believe most of you would have heard this term or are very well acquainted with it. Then we also had applications like the area profiler, which provided an entire profile of a gram panchayat, a block panchayat or a district panchayat. We had a national panchayat portal, which was a framework wherein panchayats could create their own websites with all the relevant information. So anyone wanted to look up at a particular panchayat could go to it. Then we had national asset directory, where the assets that are created out of a development plan are captured, and then it is a repository where you have all the information of the assets of the panchayat assets. Service Plus is a standalone application wherein panchayats are able to provide services to the citizens. It could be through line departments or through the panchayats themselves. Training management portal where all the training information, training needs and requirements are captured. And underlying application for all of this is your local government directory, which is basically providing a unique code to all the panchayats, and based on that unique code, all the information across these individual applications can be shared with one another. So the whole objective of this was to transform the functioning of panchayati raj institution and making them more transparent, accountable, and effective. But these applications, because they were in silos, they were fraught with certain issues, in fact. So for instance, there were lack of centralized entries, meaning every application, one would have to enter information and would have to enter similar kind of information. So basically, they were repetitive in nature. because there was no data sharing flow. So, for instance, if for example, certain informations are being recorded, were being recorded in application Plan Plus. Similar information was then again captured in ActionSoft, and some portion of it was being captured in PRIs. So basically, there were 3 times the concern had to, enter the details, and plus it is only logical that when you have entered information to one system, it has to flow to the other system, and it should be sort of a pre-filled information, and that should be available. So there was this missing link, and thirdly, there was an absence of work-based accounting. So when I say work-based accounting, so for instance, a panchayat making a plan under Plan Plus, uh, not necessarily that Panchayat uses ActionSoft. What he does is that Panchayat uses PriyaSoft. Now there is no uniform flow between planning, monitoring, and accounting. So there were these permutation combinations. Panchayat either used planning and reporting and not accounting. They used reporting and accounting and not planning. So the information was amiss actually. There was no uniformity right from the moment you started till the end time. And moreover, the accounting portion, which was PriyaSoft, which was more of a offline voucher entry, and it was also observed that many times there would be erroneous entries done, or the entries were not done timely because it follows a particular system of accounting. There was always a delay, and there was always a mismatch in the cash book generated from the system and the passbook of the panchayat's bank account. So in order to address all these issues, the Ministry of Panchayati Raj came out with an application, e-Gram Swaraj, which is basically a simplified work-based accounting system. So under this application, what we've done is all those 10, 11 applications have been amalgamated into a single sign-on application. So you have your applications such as Plan Plus, ActionSoft, PriyaSoft, National Asset Directory. They have been converted into modules and combined together under eGram Swaraj. So this was launched on 24th April by Honorable Prime Minister on the account of National Panchayati Raj Day. And with this, we also brought in the emphasis on work-based accounting. Like I mentioned, it is basically tracking every expenditure incurred for each of the activities proposed under the Panchayat development plans. And further adding to checks and balances, we also ensured mandatory geotagging of assets under the Finance Commission. And then we also integrated with PFMS for real-time payments so that there is a constant monitoring and tracking of the fund flow and the expenditure sector-wise where it's being done. And we've got various monitoring and accounting reports. They are publicly available on our site, egramswaraj.gov.in. So one can actually go, one can also see what are the different nature of work's been done, what are the sort of plans taken up by the panchayats, what is the current status of any particular work. And you'd be surprised to know that many times the ministry also gets, representations from various citizens, panchayats, giving their feedback on the same, or saying that they're able to understand where the money is going, what it's being spent for, whether it is being spent for. So there's a lot of public disclosure as well, and now people are gradually becoming aware of this. And in this regard, we have also launched a mobile app for eGram Swaraj. This is basically a view-only mobile app where you can have information on your elected members of the panchayat. You could also view the panchayat activities, what are the works taken up, what is the status of the work, and what is the current financial position or the financial balance sheets, or not balance sheets, but financial status of that particular panchayat, what expenditures has been done, how much money has been received, what are the various sources of funds. So all this is now made available to the citizens. So one can also go and look and see in a particular, if I'm in a panchayat, let's say panchayat A, I want to know what are the kind of activities being done. You have everything listed out there. And the beauty of this eGram Swaraj application is all those applications, like I mentioned, we've now converted them into modules. So Area Profiler has become your profile module. Your Plan Plus has become your planning. Your ActionSoft has become your reporting module. PriyaSoft has become the financial module, and your National Asset Directory has become asset management. So the unique thing of this now is, unless and until the panchayat does not complete the basic profile of the panchayat, he cannot begin his plans. So, if you recall, I had mentioned absence of a work-based accounting, where in the applications, not all the applications were used. There was always a missing link. So now with this work-based accounting, the link cannot be broken, because in order to make a plan, the panchayat will have to ensure that their profile is updated, and this updation has to be done once in 6 months. So they'll have to do twice in a year at least. After that, they are able to start creating the plans. And once they enter all the details into the planning module, the panchayat is given a work ID. That work ID is then given to reporting module, transferred to the reporting module, where against that particular work ID, the panchayat can upload the physical progress. So there are various stages of work being captured. And once that is done, you have your accounting module, the financial module, wherein your daily transactions are being captured. And once your work in the reporting module has been tagged as complete, that particular asset generated is sent to asset management, wherein all the information has been captured. So the modules, essentially your planning, reporting, financial and asset management, this is essentially called as the e-financial management system, EFMS. And strengthening these modules, we have three attributes. One is PFMS, Public Financial Management System, which has been integrated with the accounting module. This is to create a unique, one of its kind, online payment interface, particularly for the Central Finance Commission grants. So one is able to track and capture the fund flow and the expenditure details. Connect Also supporting the reporting module is a mobile app called M Action Sort, which is used for the purpose of geotagging of assets. So there are, like I mentioned, there are different stages in reporting module, whether your work is in the initial stage, whether it is ongoing, whether it is completed. And one more check what we've also added here is, for every activities done before the payment is made to the vendor, the panchayat will also have to showcase a documentary evidence in the form of the geotag photograph of that asset, of that work. So let's say someone has fitted a hand pump and wants to pay to the vendor. He's going to capture that geotagged image of the particular hand pump, and after that he'll be able to make the payment to the vendor. So there is this check that the work for which the payment is being done is actually been completed on the ground as well. And with planning module, we also introduced a new application called Gram Manchitra, which is a spatial planning tool. So which helps the panchayat visualize the panchayat map, and also see as to where are your assets placed. For instance, just imagine a visual map of your area, and you want to know which area has let's say street lights, or maybe which area does not have roads. So it becomes easier to view it on a spatial map, and then chalk your prepare your plans accordingly, that in this particular area I can build up roads, or in this particular area I can have street lights. So this entire thing is the architecture of eGram Swaraj actually. And this is how the information flows. So like I mentioned, one has to follow or complete the steps in different modules. They cannot just directly jump into financial module or reporting module and not use any of this. No, that has been now curbed, and panchayats have to start from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I'll just take you briefly through the profile module. Also, the topic, our topic says panchayat or accounting and auditing, but the accounting, like I said, because it's a work-based accounting, one also needs to know what are the various kind of information available in the different modules. So in the profile module, which is basically to give a brief description of that particular panchayat, it could be a gram panchayat, block panchayat, or district panchayat. So you have general profile, which gives you the contact details of sarpanch. It gives you infrastructure details, whether you have a common service center or not, whether there is any infrastructure available, whether there's internet available, what is the population of that particular panchayat. Similarly, in the basic profile, you also get to know in a particular panchayat what are the village areas, what are the health facility details, are there any subcommittee details, standing committees in the panchayat, what is the availability of Anganwadis, old age homes? Is there a playground for children? Availability of drinking water facility? In your general election details, you mention about the panchayat election details, whether the elections have been held, when was the last election held, who are your elected members, who are your committee members, their name details, information on any innovative work done by the panchayat success stories, whether there is anything related to tourism in that particular panchayat or something unique, USP of that particular panchayat, details of employees in your panchayat who are working in your panchayat offices, and especially what sort of citizen-centric services are being delivered by the panchayat. So basically, if you look at it, you get a sense. This is more like you are going to a particular office and you want to know what services does the office provide, what whether the particular panchayat office has information on particular things, or whether they have anyone who could address to their queries. But like I mentioned, this is mandatory for panchayats to fill before they can start preparing plans. Now, from this year onwards, the planning, you all are familiar with the term GPDP, that's Gram Panchayat Development Plan. Similarly, we had plans for Block Panchayat and Zilla Panchayat, which was basically done on your 29 sectors or 29 focus areas, as we called it. But from this year, from the year 23-24 onwards, we have modified the process a bit. Now we go by the name thematic development plans. So there are 17 sustainable development goals by the UN, which has been localized to 9 themes, under which the panchayat development plans have to be prepared. So you've got theme 1, which is your poverty-free and enhanced livelihood. Theme 2, your healthy village, healthy panchayat. Theme 3 is your child-friendly panchayat. Theme 4 is water sufficient, clean and green, self-sufficient, socially secured, panchayat with good governance, and women-friendly. So these are your 9 themes in which the panchayats will have to take up activities so that they are able to saturate these themes, which in turn will also help in attainment of those SDG goals. And another concept what we've introduced here in planning is a Sankalp-based development plans or resolution-oriented development plan, wherein the panchayats will have to take a Sankalp resolution as to which particular theme or which particular area they would want to saturate. So let's say some panchayat says, I want a water sufficient and child-friendly panchayat. So when they are making plans, they will have to ensure those maximum activities are for these 2 themes, because they have taken a sankalp that I want to carry out saturation these 2 themes. So earlier what used to happen was, while making plans, your main focus would lie, let's say, in one particular sector, let's say water sufficient. But when the expenditure happened, one would often see it was done mainly for roads or infrastructure. So there was a disconnect between these 2. But now with the thematic based plans and the condition that you have to give maximum activities to those themes which you have selected as your resolution, so the panchayats are bound in a way to lead towards that direction. So that is also one of the checks done in the system. And we've also mapped these themes to a predefined set of activities, so that there's a uniformity across the panchayats in the country, and no one gets confused as to whether, if I have selected as socially secured panchayat, what are the activities to be done. So it's already mapped, they just have to select it, the drop down. So if I look at the current status of the Sankalp taken by the panchayats, so out of the sample size of 269,456 gram panchayats, around 33% have taken Sankalp under theme 1, which is your poverty-free and enhanced livelihood panchayats, followed by a water sufficient panchayat, which is 32%. 28% is for your clean and green panchayats, and and so on, like healthy panchayats. Then you have your self-sufficient panchayats. Then you've got panchayat with good governance. Then you have child-friendly panchayats. Then you have socially secured, and lastly followed by women-friendly panchayats. So panchayats have been given this liberty; they can take up whatever sankalp, whatever resolution they want to do, and accordingly prepare those plans. So every year For purpose of preparing plans, we have the Ministry of Panchayati Raj runs this People's Plan campaign, which starts from 2nd October to 31st January every year, wherein Gram Sabhas are being held during the entire period. In Gram Sabhas, all the action points are being discussed as to what needs to be developed in the subsequent year. For instance, the People's Plan campaign, the last year, 22-23, had started for the current year 23-24, because we made a paradigm shift to thematic development plans. So there were a lot of changes to be done, software technical changes to be done in the application. So which is why the People's Plan campaign is currently in progress. I mean, the panchayats are developing plans as we speak for thematic based plans. And this is the 5th year of the campaign. The only difference this year onwards is your theme-wise plans which should be developed. So the changes what we've done in system is that we've only just entered this theme. These are your 9 themes. So the panchayats has to select particularly the one wherein they've taken the resolution or sankalp. Now we have a different application called the Vibrant Gram Sabha, wherein panchayats can record the sankalp taken. All the sankalps or the resolutions taken in that particular application is showcased here. So you can see the one which is highlighted. This is the sankalp taken by this particular Gram Panchayat. So when the Panchayat selects this, he will have to ensure that most of his activities cater to this particular theme. And if you recall my previous slide, I had mentioned we had also given a predefined set of activities. So under water sufficient village, these activities have been mapped. So all activities have been mapped under different themes. So when a panchayat is making his plan, he does not need to type out himself what is the exact activity. He can choose it from this list of activities, and this list of activities are pretty exhaustive. It's also been done in consultation with the Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation, because they're also one of the stakeholders in our intervention. Rest of the forms and rest of the entry points are the same. So another thing which just reminded me, all this integration of application under eGram Swaraj, we've retained all the forms. So there's been no changes in the application form. So panchayats who have been well versed with using our application, be it Plan Plus, PriaSoft, ActionSoft, so they found it very easy that knowing none of the fields or none of the forms have been changed. It's just that the applications have now become module. Rest remains same. So they found it very they found this very simpler also. So this is how a normal plan looks. These plans are also available in the public domain on the portal egramswaraj.gov.in. So wherein for a particular gram panchayat, you can see what is the total amount allotted, what is the total planned outlay. So for instance, here it's 13,71,000. What are the different sectors where this 13,71,000 would be earmarked? So you can see tied and untied. So tied is for drinking water and sanitation, and untied is for any other, of the 29 subject which the panchayat feels deemed fit. In this case, it is maintenance of community system. Then you have your scheme view, basically the sources of fund. So primarily you will see 15 finance commission, tied grant, untied grant. In some panchayat, it could be state finance commission, or some panchayat could also be Narega based, source. So with the thematic planning now in focus, and with the sankalp, when the panchayat takes up a plan or takes up a sankalp, like if you recall in the previous slide, it was highlighted over there. In the same way, in the plan activities, you would also get to know which are my sankalp, what are my sankalp themes taken. So in this case, this particular panchayat is a different panchayat, has taken the sankalp for theme 1, that is poverty free and enhanced livelihood. And these are your activities, and these are your work ID, and this is your activity description. So like I mentioned, for this work ID, you can also update the progress. And for this work ID, you can also update your financial expenditure. And you can also see what sector this is being used for and what is the amount of fund allocated to the sector. So again, this is all theme one. And if you see your sectors are PDS, poverty alleviation, social welfare, technical training, vocational education, and the funds used. So in this case, it's own source of funds. In certain cases, there are finance commission grants or maybe a state specific scheme. If I look at the current statistics of Panchayat using this application of preparing plans for, so last year 22-23 almost 100% GPDPs were prepared. A good amount of your block Panchayat development plans were also prepared, or almost 94%. And again, 94% of your district development plans. So Panchayats are well aware or well acquainted with the IT systems what are available there, and they have been using the system extensively. So all the statistics is actually on account of their adaptability, their adoption onto eGram Swaraj. And in the current year, that's 23-24, since the thematic development plans are in progress, so the panchayats are doing it, they're getting a hang of it. You can see 64% gram panchayats have already made thematic plans. 32% block panchayats have made development plans, and 17% district panchayat they have made development plans. So this is still, like I mentioned, panchayats are still carrying out the plans right now. I had mentioned about a mobile application wherein it is mandatory to geotag an asset before making online payments to the vendor. This captures your geo coordinate of the particular asset. Sorry, and all this information captured through the mobile app is shared with Actionsoft or with the reporting module in eGram Swaraj. So he clicks the moment someone in the panchayat clicks an image of the asset and marks all the details. That details are then synced with your eGram Swaraj, and once you go to make the payment to the vendor, all the information is available there. You can see for which particular asset or which particular work ID the payment is being done. So again here there's a massive adoption. So if I look for in terms of GPs, so around 93% GPs are using Actionsoft. The ZPs and BPs are also carrying out geotagging of assets because this is the first time funds are also been given to ZPs and BPs. So they are new onto the system of all these processes because panchayats are well versed with the progress because they've been receiving funds from 14 Finance Commission as well. So they are also in the process of carrying out this activities. So under eGram Swaraj, we tried our best to cater to two critical points laid by the Finance Commission. So Finance Commission, the 15th Finance Commission, in its report had mentioned two key things. One is ensuring availability of accounts online, and also ensuring audit of every local bodies. So in this regards, for accounts to be generated online by each rural local body, MOPR had already developed PRIs, which is now your eGram Swaraj accounting module, and further strengthening this process is your integration of eGram Swaraj, with PFMS for online payments by panchayats. And on the second aspect, that's the availability of audited accounts online. The Ministry of Panchayati Raj has rolled out Audit Online in the year 2020, which, as the name suggests, is to carry out audit process online audit process for a panchayat account. Also, the Finance Commission in its operational guidelines had listed down some mandatory conditions for the panchayats to be, for the panchayats to avail grants actually. So for the release of grants in 22-23 for last year, the Finance Commission had mentioned that 25% provisional accounts and 25% audited accounts should be made available online. For the current year, it is mandatory that 100% of PRIs need to have their accounts and their audit accounts online, which means they need to maintain their cash books, annual payment receipt statement on eGram Swaraj, and also maintain or carry out 100% audit of all the Panchayati Raj institutions. Another category or another criteria was uploading of panchayat development plans. So this also becomes very critical. Your GPDPs, BPDPs, and Zilla Panchayat plans, particularly now the thematic development plans. And It is also mandatory to carry out online payments through eGram Swaraj PFMS interface, particularly for the Finance Commission grants, because the Finance Commission is of the opinion that if a huge corpus of grants and funds have been going to the panchayats, we need accountability as to where the money is being spent, whether it is being spent for the activities it is meant for or not. Another important one is, duly constituted rural local bodies. Elections have to be held in the panchayats, and also minimum 50% utilization of grants needs to be utilized. Because very often we've seen funds are received by the panchayats, but the expenditure is not done. And similarly, from next year onwards, one another significant criteria is the constitution of State Finance Commission, which is going to be mandatory. So, along with the mandatory condition for this year, that is ensuring 100% provision accounts and 100% audited accounts, from next year you also have a compulsory mandatory condition of constituting a State Finance Commission and also implementing the recommendations. So for the panchayat, so this is seen as a way to bring panchayats to speed and also make them much more accountable. So now, yes, now we come to the main crux of the the webinar, which is your accounting module. So you all are aware of the term of application PRIasoft. So the accounting module is nothing but PRIasoft, also PRIasoft, which was developed for better financial management of PRIs, for ensuring your books and all your annual statements are in order, so that there's transparency and accountability. All these reports are available in the public domain. We have a series of registers as prescribed by the Office of CNAG. One can also look, download and see, go through the financial situation of the panchayat. This follows a double entry cash basis system, and the best part of this is, we've hidden the accounting concept from the user. So because most panchayats, the user is your panchayat secretary, or it could be a data entry operator. So in order to save them trouble for keeping in mind all the accounting principles, all they have to do is enter details into the appropriate vouchers, be it your receipt voucher or be it your payment voucher, counter voucher, journal voucher. But by far, your receipt vouchers and payment vouchers are the two most used vouchers. So as long as the panchayat secretary and or the data entry operator, does a correct entry, so I think then that takes care of the accounting process, and your account books are also in order. And we also provision for a master data to be captured. So at various levels, be it state level, district level, block level, there are certain master data entries required to be done, so that when the panchayat logs in, the panchayat does not have to worry about all this. He just has to select from that particular drop down and then do his work. Yes, sorry. So if you can see, there's quite a lot of adoption, like around almost 100% panchayats have you've been using this module, and they have also closed their account books for 21-22, and for 22-23 also many of their month books and year books are being closed. So in the accounting module, there are four head of accounts: major head, minor head, subhead, and object head. So all these are captured while a receipt voucher is being booked, or while a payment voucher is being booked. So your major head basically constitutes or represents your 29 functions listed in the 11th schedule. You have them as revenue receipts, revenue expenditure, capital expenditure, loans, and advances. Your minor head basically is a 3-digit code which represents a particular scheme or activity under that particular major head. Now your subhead is basically scheme description. So when a panchayat is actually booking a revenue receipt or carrying out a payment voucher, all they have to do is select your major head, minor head, and object head. Because subhead, when you're carrying out a particular payment, you are already selecting the name of the scheme, so you don't have to again capture the subhead. It's already been captured. And your object head are basically the exact expenditure being done. It could be your administrative expenses, could be your travel expenses, could also be your office expenses, or wages, salaries. So all these, the list is exhaustive. The head of object heads, major head, minor head, have been prescribed by the Office of CNAG as to what it should be. So if a panchayat secretary or a panchayat user, carries out this accounting properly, I mean, I don't think there'll be any issues as such in the account books of panchayats. And most of the panchayats are actually doing this. So if you are in fact free to also go and access the annual receipt and payment statements, and also go through in detail what are the various kind of expenditures being done, what are the various kind of activities being done. Like I mentioned earlier, there are four types of vouchers. Receipt voucher, as the name suggests, is to record details of any inflow of funds within the panchayat. It could mean direct receipt or maybe advance given by some other panchayats, or refund of that advance, or maybe cancellation of checks and refund of your opening balance advance. Likewise, payment voucher, which is on the other flip side of the receipt one, it is to record any outflow of funds. So actual expenditure being incurred, transferring of funds to other panchayats, or payment of advance to other panchayats, and likewise. Contra vouchers are basically used for recording a transaction between cash in hand and bank account, treasury account, or post office account, and vice versa. It is also used to record your transaction between two bank or post office accounts. And this voucher is mainly used to record a transaction if it's done within the same scheme or within a particular component. It cannot be used between two different schemes. It's only, let's say, intra scheme. And then you have journal voucher, which is to record any book adjustment, maybe from one account head to another account head. You've wrongly booked into one head and you want to actually transfer to other head. You can actually then book it through journal voucher. It also allows you for your opening balance adjustments or maybe payment rectification, because many times we've seen panchayats while carrying out their voucher entries, at times they enter a couple of few zeros here and there because it was offline voucher entries. So this has been taken care of with the onset of finance commission, because we've made this automated now with your public financial management system as PFMS. So this is a example of a receipt voucher. So this is generated through the system. It is available also in the system. So you can actually drill down to the very last unit, that is our Gram Panchayat, and further go and access what are different kind of vouchers generated. So in this case, if you see, your major head here is 1601, and this is for tied grant, the grants in aid. Your minor head is grants from central government, 101, and your object head is 17, grant in aid. So if you recall, I had mentioned subhead does not get featured here because while carrying out the transaction, you have already in the 15 Finance Commission scheme. So this is in a way your subhead, which is already been captured. So as we can see, an amount of 12 lakh has been received. So received from the as grant in aid from the central government, which is the 15 Finance Commission tied grant. So here you can see they're very well mentioned that this is the fund received as second installment for the year 21-22. And likewise, you also have a payment voucher detail. So it is for that very particular panchayat who has carried out expenditure under 2215. Again, your major head, which represents the 29 functions, that is water supply and sanitation. Under that, your minor head they've selected as other expenditure. Object head they've also selected as other expenditure. But they've mentioned here this is the amount being paid to the vendor against material. Now, since you all would be aware of PRIasoft, so back then in PRIasoft, they were all post facto voucher entries, and the mode of payments, under mode of payment, you had options like check, cash, DD, or a print payment advice. But now that we've mitigated this, we've only, for finance commission grants, we've only ensured that payment are done through PFMS. So basically an online payment. So for which you need to have your account number, you need to have the vendor details. So you know whom the amount has gone. Let's say here it says 7,87,000 has been paid, but now you know it has been paid to Krishna Enterprises, and for what particular thing. So it says being the amount paid to vendor against material. Had they mentioned what sort of material, it would have been much more clearer. But yes, with the onset of audit online, which I'll come to later, the auditor can also actually point out this, because all this information is made accessible to the auditor. So he knows this is the payment done, but for what purpose? So he can also pull the panchayat secretary up, asking for further details. And in fact, now what we're also looking at is, to have all this bill of payments, uploaded along with the payment voucher. So should anyone want to also see whether this amount is there a bill, standard bill or not, they can also have a look at that. That's currently a work in progress, and very soon I think it should also be reflected in the system. So once all those transactions are done, be it your receipts, expenditure done, your cash book is generated. This is how a normal cash book looks like. And this format is also prescribed by the Office of CNAG. So, like I had in my previous slide mentioned, we follow a double entry cash book system. This is basically called a model accounting system, which the Office of CNAG prescribed in consultation with the Ministry of Panchayati Raj. So, all these registers have also been prescribed by Office of CNAG. There are 8 such registers called the Model Accounting System MAS registers. Out of this is one register, annual receipt and payment accounts. So this can also be generated online. One can also go and see. So if you look over here, it says revenue receipts. So the amount received as interest under 0049, bank interest received, and then it shows you the expenditure done. So here you can see water supply and sanitation total expenditure they have booked in under others is around so much. And similarly, capital outlay on health and family welfare, let's say this is received under maybe health grants, the expenditure is done. So even in a system, you can aggregate this at the either at the major level or at the minor level or at the object level, object head level. So this particular report has been done at the object head level. That's why you can see your descriptions until the object head and also the expenditure. So like I mentioned, to even further enhance transparency and accountability and to ensure better cash or financial management, we then integrated the accounting module or the erstwhile PRIsoft with PFMS, and in the interface called back then was PPI, that was PRIsoft PFMS interface. But now with the advent of eGram Swaraj, it's called the EGSPI, which is your eGram Swaraj PFMS interface. The main objective of this online payment interface was to track real-time expenditure incurred under the Central Finance Commission grants. So they started with 14 Finance Commission in the year 1920, and then with 15 Finance Commission, now this is a mandate condition or to use your funds. So basically, this was to capture the entire process right from creating vouchers in online payment module and then making payments through PFMS. So like I mentioned earlier, there were all these post-facto voucher entries, and funds were used to be routed through state treasury. Then a state treasury would then send it to a district authority, then the block authority, and then finally it would go to gram panchayat. So there was this huge delay and between the fund being sent from the Ministry of Finance and reaching to the gram panchayat. So now what we've done is the funds are sent to the state treasury, of course, and from the state treasury it goes directly to the panchayat accounts. So that time has also reduced because as per the guidelines of the Finance Commission, funds have to be sent to the panchayats within 10 days of receipt. And if it is not being sent, the state would also have to pay a penal interest to the panchayats. And in this, what we've also done is we've also carried out, two-factor authentication. So when I say two-factor authentication is basically a DSC-based payment system. So wherein your panchayat secretary is your maker who would initiate your payments, and your sarpanch is your approver or the checker who would approve this payment. So it is basically if a panchayat secretary initiates a payment, he is signing the payment voucher, which is being approved by the sarpanch. So in no way anyone can say this voucher has not been created by me because it is stamped by the DSC. And if you'd be surprised to know that more than 1,30,000 crore of the payments have been done online. So there were certain prerequisite conditions what we had ensured for onboarding. That one is that all the PRs have to close their account books. So what I mean is, let's say any panchayat is coming on board onto the PFMS interface for the very first time, that panchayats will have to ensure one, that their previous yearbook has been closed, that is 22-23. Two, that all their month books up till the month of May is closed. And three, all their day books leading up to today, that is till the 9th of June, all their day books are closed. So once all this is done, that panchayat can then move on to the online domain, wherein they can carry out their expenditures. So maybe there's one question that brings to your mind that is there a possibility of double booking of expenditure, because one would be a maker checker account, one would be an admin account. So in this case, what we've done is, now there are certain set of schemes which are being done through this interface, online payment interface, and there are certain schemes which are done in the offline mode, wherein the panchayats can also record their expenditures through the vouchers mark, whether payment has been done through cash, check, or print payment device. So what we've ensured is that your Central Finance Commission grants will be only visible in the maker login. So under the maker login, you only have two schemes, that is 14 Finance and 15 Finance Commission. And under the admin login, which is again of the very same panchayat secretary, you will find all the offline schemes, and you won't find the Central Finance Commission grants over there. So that ensures that there is no duplicacy, there's no replicity of vouchers. So like I mentioned, both the maker and checker, that is your panchayat secretary and your panchayat sarpanch, would have to register their DSCs in eGram Swaraj. The panchayat secretary will also have to register the vendor. That vendor will also be then approved by the corresponding bank, by the PFMS systems, and only then the panchayat, when he makes the payment to the vendor next time, if it's approved, then the payment goes through. And in PFMS, although there are a large number of banks in PFMS, but there are certain banks which allow for DSC-based payments, which are basically integrated with the PFMS system. So there are 188 banks as such. So panchayats will have to ensure that they open their account in these banks only. And another requisite is that a monthly reconciliation of accounts have to be carried out by the makers of your district panchayat, block panchayat, and gram panchayat. So herein we've given the approval hierarchy of the DSCs. Like if a particular panchayat coming on board for first time wants their DSCs to be approved, it would go to the BDO, and in turn the BDO's DSC would also be approved by the DPO, the DPRO, whose DSC would be approved by the State Directorate. So this is how the approval hierarchy is. So by far, I think almost all the states are on board this interface, which you can see from the current slide. So states like Andhra have come on board. They've come on board late to the party, and northeastern states, particularly Meghalaya, Nagaland, they're still yet to come on board. They're not there yet. And if you can see again, 95% of Panchayati Raj institutions are onboarded, and of which 86% online of panchayats have done online payment. So there is this huge understanding of this software, understanding of this application at the panchayat level, and it is absolutely phenomenal and really credit worthy that panchayats are able to do this with whatever basic infrastructure they have. In fact, most of you would be aware who would dealt with local bodies, that local bodies in the hilly terrains or very hilly areas, they still don't have the proper infrastructure like internet connectivity, basic setup over there, but they're still doing it. Most of the times what happens is the panchayat secretary goes to the nearest block with all his gamut of stuff, and carry out all the transactions or maintains the details of it at the block level. So panchayats are doing this, and it's really commendable for the panchayats to be able to pull this thing off. We also have a file tracking mechanism. Many a time what happens is, because this is a DSC based payment file system, so unlike the normal mode of payments what we are used to, be it your UPI payments or online NEFT or RTGS, DSC payment files do take certain time. The maximum time taken is 2 or 3 days. Banks have been reporting that payments are done in 1 or 2 days, but in case payments are not done or they're pending, so through the file tracking mechanism, one can also find out the current status as to where the payment file is, when was it sent to the bank, or when was it sent to the PFMS, and most of the time the bankers, they ask for this particular file name. Oh, sorry, this particular file name. This give this file name to the bankers, and they're able to tell you what is the current status of the payment file. So this is available in the state login or district login as well. So they can always, the respective authorities can also have a look at these pending statuses. So eGram Swaraj, because it mainly caters to digital governance and through leveraging technology. So it has received a couple of awards and recognition in the last few months. So last year, in the month of September, the project has received a Gold Award. That is the first place under the National Award for E-Governance by the DRPG Government of India. And that is for excellence in government process re-engineering for digital transformation. So if you recall my earlier slides when I told all those individual applications were re-engineered to form, one main application for so single platform for the planning and accounting needs. Likewise, the project has also been a top contender award for a Tech Gov Award, which was recently held a few months back. Now we come on to audit online. So just if before we start audit online, I just want to know are there any questions being shared on the chat window? If not, then we could just maybe continue them.
The questions can be taken in the end.
Okay, fine. So just a minute, I'm a bit parched. Okay, thank you. So Audit Online is the latest entrant in the ICT interventions done by the Ministry of Panchayati Raj, and a very significant one, because when the Finance Commission has been repeatedly emphasizing on ensuring availability of audited accounts, becomes very critical, because we all know, and you would be the better judges rather, that carrying out audits of panchayat accounts, it's not an easy task, especially when you have 2.5 lakh panchayats across the states, and many a times the auditor would then have to also visit the particular panchayat office, see whether records are available or not, and then carry out. It is a very uphill task, I agree. So with the Finance Commission emphasizing more on availability of audited accounts, so when we started, this was launched in the year 2020. And when we started with a very lower margin, a lower target of 25% GPs for the periods 1920 and 2021. So we started off with auditing 14 Finance Commission accounts, so that the panchayats and the DLFAs of the state audit departments of the state AG people, they get acquainted with Audit Online application. They gradually then audit for 14 FC. We also included 15 Finance Commission audits. And the unique thing about Audit Online application is, it captures the very essence of your respective state audit rules and acts. So we are not defining any particular process to be followed for auditing. We've been telling the states, you tell us what is your system, what does your state act say for audit, what does the state audit rule say. We will have that captured in an application. So in Audit Online, for every state, the process flow is different and is being captured. That is a major USP of this application. We've also integrated this application with the accounting module of eGram Swaraj. So basically, the auditor is able to fetch all those MAS registers. They're also able to access those voucher details and give their observations. We've also provided standard operating procedures. We also have tutorial videos prepared on how one can, use Audit Online, which is again available in the public domain of Audit Online website. And states are now getting a hang of it. Telangana has been the national state for 2 consecutive years. This project has been recognized by the Scotch Awards in the year it was launched. So these are your key stakeholders who are responsible to carry out the audit process and also in Audit Online. So you have the state administrator, which is your PR department, or it could be the state audit department. The mainly is to create state level RLB users or the creation of the state audit department logins. So that is the only role of the PR department there. And after that, your state audit department, DLFA auditor, and your auditee, which are your panchayats, these are your main stakeholders who are major integral part of the audit process. So you have your state audit department who would create district administrators depending on the actual process being followed in the state. Then they would also define the audit configuration and process flow. They would also carry out your define your risk-based fact sheets and the various reports of audit, state-wise audit report templates. Then under them you have your DLFS, that is the district local fund auditors. Then they would further create audit teams below them. They would also assign auditee to the team that is your panchayats. They would also then define your audit schedule, and they would also maintain and monitor the auditor's work plan. So this is all done in the application. It is recorded there. Everyone has access to it. Basically, the all those stakeholders and auditors are your one who are actually entrusted with the task of carrying out audit, recording your audit paras, your draft observations, accessing accounting module of eGram Swaraj, submitting your findings to your superiors, and also provide responses to unapproved paras. So there's a massive transaction or communication between the auditor and the auditee frequently, because the auditor records, sends it to the auditee for his response. The auditee then responds back. Then to and so there's a lot of to and fro between the main auditor and the auditee. Once that report is, let's say, agreed upon at certain level, it is then sent to the higher authority for further action. So all the stages are being captured also in this. So right from audit planning, initiating your audit process where you send your intimation letter to the auditee, you're recording your entry meetings, you're also finalizing and concurring the MOMs, you're recording your observations, you're generating your audit reports also based on those observations. And now what a new module what we are currently now working on is the action taken, because till now what used to happen was in audit online, the end stage, the last stage was a mere generation of audit report. But when we discussed with the various stakeholders, Office of CNAG, it was also mentioned that uh, after generation of audit report, you also have a action taken report module wherein you need to mention whether or not your actions have been taken against those observations or not, which leads to your settlement or follow-up report. So, like I mentioned, because under Audit Online, the main USP was that the state-wise audit acts, state-wise audit rules are being captured. So for this, we had actually circulated 5 formats, which were called prerequisite formats, wherein asked information related to audit departments. So the hierarchy of the local audit department followed. Who are your officials, the master data officials? What is the audit process followed in the state? And what are the various categories and subcategories? So based on all the information we received from the state, the audit online was configured accordingly. So let's say someone from the state of Chhattisgarh provided his audit process flow. So when he goes into audit online, so he's able to see all of it which he's familiar with, and not something which is completely different, which has not been followed in his or her state. So that is, like I mentioned, that's one of the major USP of this. And the best part also, because of this application, is not a data entry application. It is actually an application through which your audit processes can be carried out. So there has been this thought that this is merely a data entry application where the auditor is doing a physical audit and then entering all of that information into audit online, which is not the case. The auditor can very well use this application for carrying out the audit process, send his observations to the auditee, and also hear back from the auditee himself, and then further on pass it on to his superiors. So this is basically audit online system itself. You have a system for sending mails also within audit online, so you don't have to even send them separate mail to your panchayat secretary who are your auditees. So like it mentioned, this is linked to your eGram Swaraj accounting module. These are your MS registers, annual receipt and payment accounts, consolidated abstract register, monthly reconciliation statement, register of demand collection balance. And a unique thing of these MS registers that these are all auto-generated. They are system generated based on the entries carried out by the Gram Panchayat. So all the information entered by the Gram Panchayat and this reports are generated by itself, which are then provided access to the auditor while using Audit Online. Now, let's say there are many things, which the auditor requires, but is not available with the panchayat. So what do you do in that case? So for that, we have a requisition module developed wherein the auditor can actually, seek further information from the panchayat secretary, or can also during at the time of sending intimation letter to the panchayat, he can also tell in advance on the list of documents that he seeks for. So we've, as far as possible, we've tried and mitigate the conventional process of going to the fields and doing it. I wouldn't say it's entirely stopped right now. There are certain things which the feedback from what we get from our auditors are they do have to visit to the panchayat, but yes, that is much lesser than what it used to be because majority of it's being done online, recorded in the system. But there are certain instances where, and so we are working towards that so that it's a complete to and fro, IT system. So, like it mentioned, earlier there was manual intervention, manual audit process. Now it's being captured end to end, right from creating your intimation letter to generating audit report. Earlier, there would be challenge whether their annual accounts are available or not. But now you can fetch them from eGram Swaraj, and you can also know whether panchayats have carried out or maintained the provisional accounts or not. So that also makes case for one major observation. Your audited reports based on your observations recorded are being generated. So now we've also one major thing what we've also heard from many of the primary auditors is that it has sped up the audit process rather than waiting for a year or years. So on account of the IT system, so this has actually increased the pace of audits and they're able to carry it out faster. Also, I will show in my next slide the current status of the audit reports generated. And on the Audit Online portal, we also have a dashboard which gives you various, performance statistics of the states in respect to Audit Online, such as number of audit plans created, number of observations recorded, or number of audit reports generated. So the benefits of Audit Online, if I were to put it simple, is it improves efficiency and transparency and accountability in the audit process. It strengthens the financial management and it also improves the credibility of the Gram Panchayats. It also has helped move from a paper-based audit to a computer-based system audit. And it also ensures your audit accounts are available and done before the next release of the grants. If you recall, one of the mandatory conditions laid down by the Finance Commission in the operational guideline was that you need to ensure availability of audited accounts. So for current year, that is 23-24, as per the guideline, it says there are two conditions which the panchayats or the states have to ensure. One is your provisional accounts for the previous year to be 100%, and the audit account for the year before the previous also has to be 100% and in the public domain. So although right now, because laying off the audited reports in the public domain is not that easy because it has to follow certain statutory process. It has to be laid before the state legislature before it can be made available to the public. So right now, what we have done is we've the audit reports are generated and stored in the state login or the central login. And on the dashboard, we just showcase how many audit reports have been generated and what are the kind of observations being recorded across the state. So if you see the current statistics over the last few years, so 1920, 2021, basically your audit periods. So when we started Audit Online in the year 2020, we had asked the states to carry out audit for 14 Finance Commission grants for expenditures done in 1920. So in that regards, around 118,425 audit reports were generated, whereas we had asked for only 25%. This is much beyond 25%. And subsequently in 2021 also, wherein they had to ensure minimum 25% audit, you have around 2 lakh 1000 audit reports generated. And if you can see, states like Telangana and the ones marked in blue, they are almost 100%. They have almost done 100% audit reports. So there is a massive adoption of this, and as we progress gradually, there are many various changes and developments also happening. This is for the current year. So like I mentioned, for this current year 23-24, states have to ensure 100% audits have been done for the year 21-22. So far there have been 1 lakh audit reports have been generated, and there's a remarkable progress actually. Certain states are yet to commence or come in the better performing range. So you can see northeastern states and Jharkhand, Haryana, they have this issues there which they are being resolving. Similarly, Goa also one small state, although 191 gram panchayat, but they're still yet to commence. So gradually we are moving to better understanding of audit online application, and we are, as we speak, constantly involved in your development, further enhancements of the application. So one major challenge what we've seen is many of the state DLFs have said they do not have any adequate staff across their DLFA units, and the finance commission also in its report have said that they have identified the strengths wherein states have hired external agents like chartered accounts a chartered account for audit and certification of audits. States like Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Sikkim, they have hired chartered accountants for carrying out audits of mainly urban local bodies. But the Finance Commission has said this is a good practice, and this can also be emulated maybe for local bodies because states are struggling with adequate staff. So when we consult with the Office of CNAG, what they had mentioned was the states can identify the CAG empaneled chartered accountant firms, which is available there on their website. And we have, based on the consultation with the Office of CNAG, also written out to states, those who have approached us, that they can go ahead and hire these CAG empaneled CA firms and carry out their audit activities. The only thing what they'll have to ensure is there has to be a final signing authority by the primary auditor. So if a CA firm has carried out the audit work, generated the audited report, but it is the state audit department or the state DLFA who would have to sign on the audit report. So in the year 2021, the CAG Office of CNAG had released guidelines for financial audit of Panchayati Raj institutions. So there were various audit working papers, which were to be incorporated in audit online. But specifically, two things. One is the standardized audit certificate report, and action taken report also is one thing what CAG had prescribed to us. So with regards to standard or standardized audit certificate, I would like to tell you that in fact yesterday only we had rolled this out into application. So from the current year onwards, all the states, all the auditors, when they would be generating the audit report, it would be a single uniform audit report, which is the standardized audit certificate prescribed by Office of CNAG. So earlier we used to have this option where state would give the format, and then accordingly we carry out the audit reports would be generated. But now there will be a uniformity in this audit report. And we are also currently developing an action taken report module. We have shared a discussion paper with the stakeholders. We've sought inputs from them. And very soon we'll be also launching this. And one unique thing what we've also developed is an observation analysis report. So this is available there on our homepage of Audit Online. So under observation analysis, one can actually analyze what are the major observations recorded at a state level or at a panchayat level, and let's say top 10 major observations. And out of those top 10, maybe let me take the top the first major observation. What are the subcategories of that particular observation? So one can also then probably ensure mitigation measures to and to keep in mind that these things don't happen again. So this is also available there in the public domain. And yes, currently the audits are being done for finance commission, but it is not restricted to finance commission, because you all would agree when you say audit, it does not just mean a particular scheme or a particular grant. It means all the transactions carried out by the panchayat in its entirety, be it any scheme, be it state scheme, be it your own source, or be it your central finance commission grant. So all of this would have to be audited, and going forward, this will also be a major this will be a major task for the auditors as well, because the ministry is also pressing upon that it would not be only just for finance commission, it will have to include all the schemes. In fact, recently we've also been awarded the most coveted WSIS award by the ITU Geneva, Switzerland. So Audit Online, in a way, is a very unique application wherein all your audited reports are being uh, generated. All the entire audit process is being done online. So from moving from a manual paper-based audits to a computerized IT-based audit, it's really a huge achievement for the Ministry of Panchayat Raj and all its stakeholders. So yes, that brings an end to the topics of today, that is Panchayati Raj institutions, accounting and auditing. So yes, I think I'll stop sharing my screen, and if there are any questions.
The questions are in chat box.
Okay, they're in the chat. Okay, fine. Let's go one by one. Who audits accounts of panchayats? Director of local fund audit, or accountant general, or chartered accountant? So in many states, your primary auditors are your director of local fund audit. And few states, it is your state AG who carries out the audit of panchayats. For instance, in West Bengal, it is the state AG carrying out your audit. In Karnataka, although it is the DLFA who carries out audit for Gram Panchayat, but it is the state AG who carries it for the Zilla Panchayat and the Block Panchayat. And majority of state, it is the director of local fund audit. Chartered accountants, like I mentioned in my previous slide, that states can also approach the CAG empanelment chartered accountants, and they can also carry out the audits. It's just that on generation of the final audit report, it will be the DLFA or the primary auditor who will have to vet the audit report. Okay. Whether eGram Swaraj provides details of all fixed assets of panchayats, including the cost details. Yes, we have a report under planning module in the sub-report assets, where you can find information on panchayat assets and what are the, and its various attributes, the money spent on creating that asset, number of assets created. So you can find all that information available in the public domain on the on eGram Swaraj gov.in website. Can we enter data in Gram Swaraj in English language only, or are there any option of other regional? Yes, so now we have English and Hindi, but we have also shared with states a data pack, a language pack where they can actually, enter data into their regional languages as well. And we're also going to do the same thing in Audit Online also, where all your data labels would also be translated into regional languages. In fact, if you go to Audit Online and see some of the observations recorded, you will find them in regional languages also, like Karnataka and Kannada, Orissa and Odia. You'll find them in regional languages as well. But we would, in Audit Online, we are working towards translating all the labels as well, so they can be done in regional languages as well. Whether CAG's or guidelines of financial audit of Panchayati Raj institutions are appropriately incorporated in Audit Online. So like I mentioned in my last slide, we have incorporated the standardized audit certificate, which was officially launched yesterday by our Secretary Panchayati Raj. And on the action taken report module, we will be launching it soon. We've been seeking inputs from all the stakeholders, and very soon that will also be launched. And in the auditor certificate prescribed by the CNAG, it's a three-part document basically. One is your audit certificate. It follows your major observations and the other observations, and in the end you would also have an annual receipt and payment statements of the panchayat. So this format has been prescribed to us by the CAG office, and remaining other audit working papers what they have ensured will be gradually looked into and also incorporated. But the office of CNAG had also advises that this prescribed standardized format needs to be done on priority, which we have done. So from this year onwards, the states would be carrying out audit of 22, 23 accounts. All the reports will be generated in this format only. Okay. What steps are being taken by ministries to build capacity of local bodies to implement e-panchayat system in panchayats? So under the Ministry of Panchayati Raj, we have a flagship scheme called the Rashtriya Gram Swaraj Abhiyan, which is RGSA. So the main essence of RGSA is to provide training to the stakeholders, mainly your elected members and to the functionaries on not just e-governance, on various areas. So it could be water water and sanitation, it could be health, nutrition, it could also be e-gov, and so and time and again we also provide training to the state level master trainers, be it on eGram Swaraj, be it on audit online. In fact, few weeks back we had been in the state of Mizoram to provide their DLFAs training on audit online and their PR department on eGram Swaraj. So these state level master trainers then in turn go and then pass on the training in a cascade mode. So yes, we have appropriate measures actually for training, and trainings are done demand based. So if anyone were to call us every quarter, we provide them with the same training as a refresher course also. And RGSA, like I mentioned, also provides massive training to the elected members, ward members, and panchayat functionaries. So in fact, after let's say after panchayat elections are done, the newly elected pradhans are provided mandatory training, and they're also provided a refresher course after every 2 years on topics. Whether CA or any other normal citizen other than Panchayat can access eGram Swaraj and audit online, yes, you can. I'll in fact also given the URL over here for both the applications. One can also go and access all the sort of reports, all the sort of state performances, be it planning, accounting, and an audit online is a different application where you can also go and see the kind of variety of observations recorded, what are the current status, and what are the, one can also carry out analysis through observation analysis report also. So you have a plethora of information available on eGram Swaraj. I mean, if you start going through various reports, I don't think one day will even suffice. So clarity on the expectation from a Gram Panchayat, is it supposed to function as an elected local government or an implementing agency? So like I mentioned, Panchayats are your third tier of local self-government. So when we say local self-government, barring certain modalities, it is going to function like a government and carry out delivery of functions and deliver basic services to its citizens. And many a times the Panchayat will also have to act as an implementing agency, in the sense, let's say a block Panchayat has received fund and block Panchayat wants to prepare a development plan. Now, block Panchayat would probably carry out plan for Panchayat under its under that particular block Panchayat. So in that case, what happens is, let's say the block Panchayat says, I want to create maybe construct a road in GP1. So that block Panchayat will transfer funds to the GP1, and who would then carry out the work. So in that sense, that particular GP becomes an implementing agency. But at the Panchayat level, it is expected that they also function like a local government and carry out functions for their citizens. Best case example by far are the Panchayats in Kerala. Actually, I mean, if given a chance, you should visit a Panchayat office in Kerala. And in fact, all their Gram Panchayats are also ISO certified, and you should see how they function. Kerala, Karnataka, some of the better Panchayats are there. Where can I have a demo of the whole accounting at the Panchayat? Can I have a demo of Audit Online as well? For Audit Online, I can tell you on the homepage of Audit Online, we have tutorial videos one can go through it and also see how it is being done, how the process is being carried out. Demo of all accounting and the panchayats. I don't think we have anything there. We have SOP which showcases all the different process to be followed, because like I mentioned, it is not just merely accounting. For a panchayat to even carry out accounting transaction, he has to ensure his profile is updated. It's only after that he can make his plans. It's only after that he can monitor, and it's only after that he can carry out his accounting. So it's an entire gamut. We have reports. We have SOPs actually on eGram Swaraj, which shows the different module-wise activities to be done. So if cash book is already maintained in eGram Swaraj, what is the need to maintain physical cash book? Necessary changes should be done in law regarding maintaining physical cash book. Well, I think it is out of habit. People are habituated, keeping manual cash book also in handy. Having said that, panchayats are primarily a state subject. So any changes to be done in law or any changes to be done in the Panchayat Act or rule would have to be done at the state level. Yes, we could probably just advise or give advocacy, but it is the state's responsibility who would have to, ensure that these are being implemented. So if you go across different states, you will see panchayats are just implementing all digital cash books and not your physical cash book. Is there any possibility that we can expect an automated and easy to use system for statutory deductions, GST and income tax in near future for panchayats? So we have been in constant discussions with the Central Board of Indirect Taxes on this, but to have an online system. But till then, what we've done is when the panchayats are recording their transactions in the payment voucher, we have given a mandatory field wherein they can actually record how much of the deductions have been paid. So that's more of an offline entry, which will be done while creating the payment voucher, but that information will be available there in the accounting report. But we are working with the indirect tax team to have a uniform online system actually, so that panchayats can also maintain this. So that's a work in progress. Why we cannot make 100% expenditure tied or untied? Anyone, depending on area. If area is lacking in one thing, that does not mean similar for another. True. So that is why, if you recall my previous slide, 60% is tied for water and sanitation and 40% is for your untied activities. So under untied activities, the panchayat is free to carry out their development under any sector which the panchayat feels is best suited to them. But because the drinking water and sanitation are priority areas, so that those sectors, those areas have to be saturated completely. But again, even under the tide sector, let's say if one particular panchayat has saturated sanitation, and so that panchayat can use the funds marked for sanitation for drinking water as well. That's the provision as of now. But yes, for now it's just tied and untied, and wherein untied, panchayats can use it for whatever they deem fit. So how CA would get audit of PRIs? Is there any process for registration? Whether there is criteria to get online audit of panchayat? So on the site of CAG, Office of CAG, there is this registration link over there. You can go onto that site and you can actually follow the entire process, because then only you would be called as the CAG empaneled CA firm. So they have this entire processes listed out on their website. Let me see if I can share that link over here. Um, I am putting that over here. So on this, one can go and also look at the registration process, in fact. Okay, next. In our panchayats, while checking previous year's records, I found that the income tax of civil works has not been transferred for the year 1819, as there is no option of settling income tax via e-gram Swaraj. They're lying in panchayat accounts. How can we settle that amount, as it might involve heavy fine? So right now, there's no online system as such where we can, probably transfer the income tax on right now. They can capture it. They can mention that there is a certain amount against income tax, and as soon as we, our system with the indirect tax, the central board CBDT or CBIDT is done, this will be addressed. But having said that, we've taken note of this particular point on the income tax, and we will proceed on that. How can the dummy and fictitious uploading of asset details on eGram Swaraj portal be controlled? So one, we have a geotagging of assets to be done with a lat long, and in the system also we've ensured that there is no duplicacy of assets for various work, and it also has to be ratified by a senior authority before the payment is done. So we have by far tried to introduce all sorts of checks and balances to such that the panchayats are actually feeling the heat that there's just too many checks and balances, and one cannot just get off by randomly doing any entries. So we have all this, and also before making, like I said, before making the payment, uh, this would also have to be the geotag images will also have to be approved by the higher authority. But if it is rejected, then the panchayat cannot go ahead and do the payment. So by far and possible, we have tried to ensure that there are no dummy assets or no wrong assets. Like if, for instance, you mentioned Panchayat Bhavan, but you are showing a hand pump. So all of these things are also being curtailed. So it's again, like I mentioned, it's a constant work in progress. But by far, we've come a long way. The panchayats have come a long way in this regard, and there's more to go ahead. What are the roles and responsibilities assigned to common service centers? Now, certain states have a MOU with CSCs, where CSCs are also required to provide certain services, basic services delivery to the panchayats. In fact, I think in Maharashtra, where they had signed this MOU with their CSC, the CSC is also to provide the Gram Panchayat with basic, stationery, be it your printer cartridges, printer paper rims, and also, but the CSCs also have to be co-located in the Gram Panchayat. So many of the times CSCs are actually private, which might be there in the Panchayat area, but the main focus of the ministry in the government is also to have a co-located CSC in the Panchayat Bhavan itself, wherein they can function and provide all the basic services to the Panchayat citizens. So that is one important activity which is also being carried out by the Ministry of Panchayati Raj. So in that case, then the CSC will have to provide all the services to the citizens. Again, a classic example is a panchayat, any Gram Panchayat Bhavan in Kerala. So I would really suggest one should go on a visit over there. What is the role of Ministry of RD and MOPR in the process? What are their separate responsibilities? So eGram Swaraj, Audit Online, or maybe the RGSA, where you are providing institutional support or capacity building and training to the sarpanches, board members, and functionaries. So that is where Minister of Panchayati Raj plays a very significant role. And RD, of course, RD has a plethora of schemes, be it Narega, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Gram Sadak Yojana, NSAP, all those are handled by the RD. So many a times there are joint advisories by both the ministries actually to carry out a particular work. So when it comes to preparing plans, panchayat development plans, because they are also co-terminus with the Mission Antyodaya survey. Mission Antyodaya survey is run by the Ministry of RD, which gives account of what are the shortfalls, what are the drawbacks in terms of data gaps, sector-wise. So both the ministries then jointly convey to the state that based on the findings of Mission Antyodaya survey, your plans will also have to be developed in such a way that they cater to those activities as well. So many times, like I mentioned, there's a joint effort in development of panchayats. But when it comes to specific schemes, then that is very well defined within both the ministries. Okay. Is 15 finance commission implemented in UT? No, 15 finance commissions are only for states, Panchayati Raj institutions, and funds are not provided to the UTs as such under finance commission. It was the same case in 14 FC as well, same thing 15 FC as well. So when JNK was a state in under 14 finance commission, yes, it had received funds, but when it became a UT, it has not received any fund under 15 FC. In Jammu and Kashmir, who is authorized to maintain books of accounts and running eGram, Swaraj, and PFML? So it is the state PR department who oversees the entire performance of the panchayat. But it is the panchayat, let's say panchayat secretary, who has to ensure that all this is well maintained, all the data entries, all the transactions of the panchayats are captured well in eGram Swaraj, and since finance commission grant are to be spent through online PFMS interface. So again, it is over there. Like I mentioned, we have a two-factor authentication. The panchayat secretary initiates the payment, which is approved by the pradhan or the sarpanch of that panchayat, and then the payment is being done. So it's there across all the states. You have in every state you have a state PR department. Similarly, you have a district panchayat office, a BDO, and then the gram panchayat. So gram panchayat, in one sense, like I mentioned, is a third-tier government, but it also has governing bodies over it. Like you have the BDO, who's in charge, responsible for all the panchayats under his realm. Similarly, it is for the DPRO as well, who is responsible for all the block panchayats and the corresponding gram panchayat under him. So in that ways, you have all these monitoring mechanisms. Okay, I lost my question. Where am I? Okay, Jammu Kashmir. Okay. Considering these many e-strides, how the ministry plans to ensure the execution at the ground level? Yes, capacity building is a big question, but like I said, we follow a cascading mode of training where we train a set of state-level master trainers. Almost every state has have these SLMTs, state-level master trainers. These trainers then train to their district staff. The district staff then goes and gives it to the block and the gram panchayat. So there's this continuous exercise throughout the year, and plus every state has state SIRDs. SIRDs also carry out trainings time and again, and at the national level you have NIRDs. NIRDs also provide trainings to the state level master trainers on various rural development Panchayati Raj initiatives. So there's constant training and capacity building program round the clock throughout the year. In fact, the trainings are also provided to pradhans on how things can be developed in their panchayats. Exposure visits are being carried out. That is also allowed under RGSA, where pradhan of a particular panchayat can go visit some other best performing panchayat, best practice panchayat. What is suggested way forward to enable RLBs to complete the lag in preparation of account and audit of accounts in a time-bound manner? So preparation of accounts and audit of accounts. So preparation of account is mainly it lies on the auditee, or so not on the auditee, it lies on the panchayat secretary who has to prepare, because like I mentioned, 15 Finance Commission, it's an online scheme, which means the online scheme of 15 FC are being updated on account of the payment interface, which then in turn leads to the panchayat also speed up their account closure for other schemes. Because if a panchayat is to move to a different the new financial year, all their month books, all their yearbooks have to be closed, and they can only be closed when all the schemes done by, or where the transactions have been done by, carried out by the panchayats are closed. So that has brought about certain change, because if you close your book or yearbook on 31st March and you want to begin a transaction from 1st April, the panchayat has to ensure that, has to make sure all his account books are closed. It is only then he can go into the next financial year, because we've not given this liberty that you can only operate finance commission the next financial year, but you cannot do for others. So that is not there. So unless and until the panchayat does not speed up, he's not going to be able to move into the next financial year, and he's not able to then carry out any expenditure also. In fact, you'd be surprised, certain panchayats still have unspent balance of 14 finance commission grants. They're still carrying it out, or carrying out expenditures, and we've been seeking, consensus, or we've also been seeking approval from the Ministry of Finance in extending the timeline in our system, because the 14 Finance Commission tenure has already ended in 1920, but because panchayats still have funds unspent balance, so we've been extending this timeline. So they also feel that pressure that they have to speed up. And when it comes to audits, now, like I mentioned, for the current year 23-24, audits of 21-22 has to be 100% complete. So that is on the auditor to carry out 100% audit, because it is their primary responsibility. The auditors would of course respond to the auditor. So there is this sense of urgency even among Panchayati Raj department or the panchayats, because for them to function with ease, they need those grants, they need those funds. And although, if they do, we've given a deadline till 30th June, even if they are not able to meet it, I mean, the funds would be delayed. And in no way, because many of the panchayats have this fear that, the funds would lapse. So that is not the case, because these funds would have to be given to the panchayats. That's a clear mandate. It's just that it would get delayed, and that delay is on account of, the state PR department and our department not ensuring all those criteria are met in time. So many states have already finished the audit for the year 21-22, and they are, in fact, they have commenced, or they are waiting to start with 22-23. So very soon we'll be also issuing a guideline for carrying out audits of 22-23 also, where we would be accelerating the time period. So the Finance Commission has given a 2-year layover, but we would now bring that to 1 year. So going forward, we would see as soon as your provisional accounts are completed on 31st March, the very next year you will have to complete your audit accounts within a certain time period. Okay. Which of the recommendation of 15 Finance Commission you will count as crucial for RLB? So all the conditions are mandatory. I mean, let's say a panchayat has, out of the 5-6 mandatory condition, if panchayat is not able to do even a single one, the funds will not be recommended. And this has a double impact, because the Department of Drinking Water Sanitation, who looks after tide grant, only releases on being told by the Ministry of Panchayati Raj that the particular panchayat has catered to a particular to all the conditions. So I mean, I cannot differentiate that, this condition can be a bit relaxed, or this condition is more tight. All of them are equally important, and even a single non-compliance to any of those conditions, your funds will not be recommended by the Ministry of Panchayati Raj, and which would also be followed by the Department of Drinking Water Sanitation. So the panchayats can be rest assured, if you miss out on one conditions, your tied grants and untied grants would be delayed further. You will get them in due course of time when you complete those conditions. But yeah, so panchayats will have to ensure that all of them are done. And like I mentioned, from next year onwards, you also have Constitution of State Finance Commission also mandatory. So in various states, there is this, quite a lag. So they will have to expedite and, ensure this is being done. What steps are being undertaken by Ministry for Digital Literacy of Citizens? So every time we come out with a new intervention or a new launch, right, we ensure that there's a massive dissemination of information up to the grassroots level. So it could mean to, across either through WhatsApp groups or through mails. The Ministry of Panchayati Raj also has a quarterly magazine called Gram Yojana, which has been shared in almost all the regional languages. So that is also being sent across, percolated down till the Gram Panchayat, so that Panchayat citizens are also aware. And there's a constant information flow, information dissemination through various mediums. So, and in fact, you'd be surprised the number of times we actually get called from Panchayat citizens and not even from the Panchayat office officials. We get it from the Panchayat citizens asking on the various reports what are shown in e-Gram Swaraj. So there is that understanding, there is that literacy among citizens who are well aware that a Panchayat has received so much funds, but they have marked this much of expenditure, but the ground reality is different. So people are becoming more and more aware, and then when we reach out to the state departments on seeking clarification, many things come to the fore actually. So yes, there's a massive transparency and accountability happening. So even further, audit online also, there's a thought process that we bring out more and more information in the public domain. So but citizens are made well aware. In fact, there is this thought process that the audit reports will also have to be mandatorily discussed in Gram Sabhas, so that the Panchayat citizens are well aware of what has happened on those, audit observations, what are the action taken. So there would be a massive public understanding also. So these are all work in progress, and very soon we should also see a massive change on that front. What is the role of public financial management system in e-Panchayat? What steps are being undertaken by Ministry for Integration or other initiatives? So I can mention our online payment interface, which is called the eGram Swaraj PFMS interface. So we have integrated with PFMS. So PFMS essentially is a payment gateway to our application, because PFMS in its own is also a standalone financial MIS, wherein various funds are also transferred to different departments, different ministries also. But in our case, we've done this very unique thing that all the payment vouchers would be recorded into our system, and the payment would be done through this online integration what we've done. So like I mentioned, PFMS is like a payment gateway to our system. And other initiatives what we've also done is, like I mentioned, many a time we found out that there were various erroneous entries or wrong entries done in our application. So one aspect what we did was we mitigated online payment expenditure. And now what we've also done is we have integrated with the state treasury, with the PFMS and eGram Swaraj to form something which is called as the reverse treasury integration. So in this case, what happens is every time the central Ministry of Finance sends the grants to state treasury, there goes one file, payment file. Whenever the state treasury sends the funds to the Gram Panchayat, an XML file is shared with PFMS. That XML file is shared with us in eGram Swaraj application. So the next time when a Panchayat secretary goes and logs into a system, he gets a notification that there has been a payment file received. He has to verify and accept that. Once he does that, the receipt voucher is automatically generated. So which means there won't be any wrong entries done, because in the past we've also seen, because of a couple of zeros here and there, your total receipt has overshot the entire budget of a particular scheme or the finance commission grant. So in order to reduce that, this is what we've done now. So every time a state treasury sends a payment file to the Gram Panchayat account, we also receive that information in eGram Swaraj, which is captured as a automated receipt voucher. So and one step further, we have also embarked upon an integration with GEM portal. As you all know, GEM is used for procurement of goods and services. So we are also in the process midst of carrying that out. So a panchayat can also make a procurement through eGram Swaraj onto the GEM portal and carry out the payment through the very same online payment interface. So there'll be a complete transparency and complete traceability and tracking of that information. So these are some of the initiatives which is currently in progress, and very soon this will also be launched. Unspent balances of 14 finance grants should not be returned back to the government. So the thing is, the finance commission grants were, either of the finance commission grants were essentially meant for the Gram Panchayats to carry out their development work. So this was a clear-cut instruction by the finance commission as well. Now there have been times where funds, because the panchayats have not been able to complete or achieve the mandatory conditions, the funds have been released late to them. So like I mentioned, these funds not get lapsed. It's just that if a panchayat does not complete those activities in time, the funds get delayed. Then there have been instances where the panchayats have received funds towards the fag end of the financial year. So let's say a panchayat has received funds in the month of March of a particular financial year, and once they carry out the expenditure, because they have committed expenditures as well, which goes to the next financial year. So you just cannot ask the panchayat to give back the money, because this is a clear-cut instruction that this is a panchayat fund and they will have to utilize it completely for their development purpose. So as you can see, I mean, there will be very few lesser amount actually of the 14 FC unspent balance. But because there are certain conditions which were not fulfilled in time by the panchayat, they've received funds late. In fact, you'll be surprised, I won't name the state, but one of the states, a bigger state, has received their last year and the year before the last 15 finance commission grants now, because they had not complied to it, and they have done it now, and now the funds have been released to them. So then again, that's a huge corpus which has come. Of course, there would be some committed liabilities of which the panchayat would carry out, but one would also need to understand so much grants for a particular panchayat is actually huge. To spend that money in a short period of time, it becomes a bit difficult. And so that is why we've been seeking, we've been also consulting and seeking permission from the Ministry of Finance on extending the validity of 14 finance commissions, so that the panchayats can utilize the money fully. Whether normal citizens other than panchayat observations of auditors, I mean, I don't get the question, but are you saying if normal citizen can make audit observations? I mean, like I mentioned, the primary auditors are your auditors actually, so they will only make observation based on what information they have been provided. And with the standardized audit certificate, the auditor can now also give a unqualified opinion, qualified opinion, adverse, a disclaimer. So that is left to the auditor to select. How a panchayat can become self-sufficient economically and enhance its own source of revenue? This is a very good question, because OSR again is an important agenda of the Ministry of Panchayati Raj. In fact, we have also coming out with the guidelines on OSR, and in fact, you'll be surprised, many panchayats have gone ahead and may have put across the best examples in generating of the revenue. On the top of the mind, I know of this one particular Gram Panchayat in the state of Tamil Nadu called Udantarai, wherein they had put up a windmill, generated electricity. The excess electricity was sold to the state grid, and they could earn revenue out of that. And with that, they were able to repay the loan also what they had used for the windmill in a lesser amount of time. Similarly, I think one panchayat in Maharashtra, Pitroda, I don't recall the name. So they also have given this incentive to the panchayat citizens that if you pay your taxes on time, you would get ration, you get free ration, grounded ration, and you would also get 20 liters of water free. So you'd be surprised, there was 100% compliance to that condition. Everyone paid their taxes on time. So through these examples, OSR can be generated, can be also focused, and the Ministry of Panchayati Raj is also emphasizing more on this. In fact, another initiatives what we had launched yesterday was a OSR portal called Samarth Panchayat portal, wherein panchayats can now start recording and transacting details of their own source of revenue. So there is that push by the Ministry of Panchayati Raj to the panchayats to carry out, to realize OSR as well. Because OSR also, if you realize it, it also provides a good source of revenue to the panchayats. How can local panchayats propose for some rebate or reduction in tax for a particular area? Again, like mentioned, panchayats being a state subject, this would again come under the purview of the state department, state government, who could, probably list down the criteria or the guidelines of how this could be done. Because if you were to change or increase any rebate and the tax, all of us know it's not an easy task. It's easier said than done, but it has to follow the due process, and accordingly then, they come out with a tax structure. What are your or the GOI main areas of concerns in the area of digitization of accounting, which affects recording of income and expenditure? So you would have heard me just say, we have an online payment interface. We have now an auto reverse treasury integration done. We have integration done with the GEM portal. We have Audit Online, which also has access to eGram Swaraj records. Gradually, we are also trying and to provide information on the Gram Sabha meetings done, on the plans developed to the auditor. So all this information, what or all these interventions eventually are going to talk to each other. They are going to be sharing information across all the softwares, and so right now there are various interventions going. Actually, we've had discussions in the last week also at the level of the secretary, and I mean, we already are there. We've done. If I look, I've been in this ministry for last 9 years. I've seen from the day one and currently where we are. There's been a massive transformation digitally, and we are actually looking to even further ramp up more. Like I said, there'll be all these software applications will be talking to each other very soon, and there'll be a massive flow of information from this application to that application. So we are not leaving out anything, and as far as possible we are trying to have everything integrated, so which would give a holistic information to anyone. And there's a massive information available in the public domain, so we've not kept anything hidden from the public. Everything is out in the open, I think. So that is where we are heading, and there'll be more further interventions in months to come by as well. So I think that was the last question. So thank you. There were really very good, interesting questions. I was happy to answer them all, and I hope you have found them satisfactory to your liking. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for a wonderful session. You have covered all aspects of the ID initiatives that are being taken by the ministry in for strengthening accounting and auditing of panchayats. You have covered about the physical devolution of 15 finance fund to rural local bodies, e-panchayat mission mode project, issues in PES application, e-gram Swaraj, audit online, and you have answered all the queries patiently. We have received so many questions, and you have answered all the questions. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all the participants for joining the webinar. Have a nice day.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend. Thank you.